Welcome to the DC Sports Buzz. This is Casey, that's Michael. This is our professional version of how the Sports Buzz should be, Michael. You're looking fantastic in the booth. Hair and makeup ready to go. I'm still in my mom's basement, but the Sports Buzz is back and looking good. We got a lot to get into here, Michael. Got a lot of Redskins talk going on, but first I want to tell you, I was on the 405. I live in LA here recently, and I looked over, and what did I see? There was a dude driving on the 405. He had one hand on the wheel, one hand on his cell phone, and wouldn't you guess what was on his cell phone? He was watching pornography on the 405. It was old, like big, bushy 80s pornography. My mother was in the car. My sister was in the car. It was literally when I was taking my mom to the airport after Thanksgiving. So the lasting image she had of LA with her baby boy was the three of us, our heads turned, watching some old dude flash porn. I got his attention. He actually, he didn't seem embarrassed at all. He just turned the camera toward me so I could enjoy it as well. So that's what it's like out here in LA, Michael. If you come to LA, make sure to load as much pornography as on your phone as you can, because that's what we do in LA. We sit in traffic and watch porn.
Now, were your mom and your sister, your family, they were in the car with you? What was their reaction?
They, you know what? I think they were kind of disgusted at me trying to get the guy's attention. And then when he turned it over to me, we had this moment, me and that guy, of like this, you know, this bonding moment, I think. So it wasn't my proudest Thanksgiving with my family. When I look back years from now, I don't think I'm going to look to remember the Thanksgiving where I watched cell phone porn with my family on the way to LAX, that's for sure.
I mean, I don't think I've ever seen something like that, you know, someone watching porn in their car on their phone. I mean, that I don't know. That's pretty ridiculous to me. And, you know, it brings up it's an interesting idea. I'll just put it that way. Very interesting.
Dude, traffic's bad out here. You got to pass the time somehow, I think.
Hey, I mean, if you're at a stoplight too, you know, you never know.
For me out here, if I ever do that, it's going to be uploading RG3's highlight reel to my cell phone camera, and that's what I'm going to be getting a creeper to, because he's playing amazing, Michael. I mean, you know, the game last week, the Giants game,
unbelievable.
That was a game the Redskins of years past lose. I mean, that's a game where everything's on the line, where the defense doesn't make a stop, or the offense doesn't come through with a big play. But they found a way to win that game 17-16 and keep the playoff hopes alive. One game back of the Giants, and what an incredible atmosphere. I can only imagine what it was like. I know you were in the DC Sports Buzz booth sexually harassing the waitresses. What was the atmosphere like at FedEx? It
was crazy. I mean, I've never seen FedEx that packed in years there. Usually when you go to a game at FedEx, you know, the club level seats are kind of half full. You know, the upper level corners are kind of, you know, sporadic. Like there's some empty seats, but, you know, the whole place was packed. It was 90% Skins fans, and the place was just so loud. Like I woke up the next morning, my ears were ringing, and, you know, just to watch the Redskins offense. I mean, the #1 rushing offense in the NFL right now, and they racked over 200 yards against the Giants last week, and seeing, you know, Alfred Morris go over 1,000 yards, and you know, RG3 had about 70 or 80 yards rushing, and it was just incredible. And then, you know, the fact that they actually like closed out the game, you know, with the ball running out the clock, I just haven't seen that in a while from the Skins. Usually it's, you know, you run it a few times, you punt, turn it over to the defense, and defense gives up a big play, and that's the ball game. So,
and you've got Garcon, which somehow he's been hurt, hasn't had surgery. I mean, you wouldn't know he's hurt to look at him. He's making big plays. He's still got that explosive speed. I would love to have one of our loyal listeners call up and say how the hell he's able to do this, and then it begs the question, why didn't he play with this injury earlier? I don't know if this was just a matter of time that he had to get used to this injury, play through it, or the treatment helped him now, but he's playing incredible. He's added that vertical threat to this team. He's just a huge weapon that RG3 has. He's targeting him a lot, and he's really been a huge boost to this offense since coming back from the injury.
Yeah, and they're going to need him again this week against the Ravens. I mean, against another big vertical threat in Torrey Smith, who's been the Ravens' go-to big play receiver, a speed guy, you know, and he's going to be coming out tomorrow against the Redskins defense, you know, and against a guy like D'Angelo Hall, who's been on crutches most of the week with an injury, and it's going to be a key matchup to watch tomorrow during the game. And, you know, can the Redskins defense get enough stops to get the ball over to the offense and have the offense and RG3 do their magic? Because I'm not worried about the offense. I'm worried about the defense. You know, the offense is going to get their points. And how about Kai Forbath? Was he 11 for 11 this year on kicks?
He's playing lights out. I mean, I feel like if you walked into to the defense, it'd be like going to a senior home. Kids playing like checkers with all the chess and everything, because these guys, so many guys are hurt. So many guys are walking throughout the week in walking boots, neck braces. I mean, to think that these guys are then going out on Sunday and playing is crazy. And now that Cedric Griffin is out, that's going to even add to a very depleted secondary there. But, you know, the Ravens defense isn't that much better. They're 23rd ranked against the run and the pass. So it's not like the Redskins are going against a tough defense this week. I think the Redskins are going to run all over the Ravens here this week. Alfred Morris, RG3. You and I could probably get out there and go for 60. I like the matchup on the ground for the Redskins going into this game.
We'll get to our predictions later, but you know, a lot of people are predicting who the best rookie QB is and who's going to win Rookie of the Year. Right now, you've got all these great QBs from this past year's draft class. You've got guys like Robert Griffin III, obviously, Andrew Luck, Russell Wilson, Brandon Whedon, Ryan Tannehill. All these guys are starting for teams now.
All these guys are starting too.
Yeah, yep, exactly. And you know, some of them are producing very well. I mean, you got guys like RG3 and Andrew Luck and Russell Wilson, who all have over 60% completion percentages. You know, right now in the NFL, and you know, it's a very tight race, I think, between sort of. I think actually all three guys, to be honest. I'm a homer. I like RG3, but you know, Andrew Luck has had a lot of fourth quarter game-winning drives, and Russell Wilson has been, you know, very poised under pressure, led his team down the field, you know, a few times in games. So, you know, you've got all these great guys out there, and I mean, I don't know, like it seems like it's you know, every year it's going to be about who's your quarterback. You got to have a stud quarterback, and here are these guys that are young, and they're going to be up and coming guys and starters for years to come.
It's crazy to think about. The trend in this league forever was that you get a young quarterback, you develop him, in 3 or 4 years he plays. All of those guys you mentioned are playing this year, their first year in the NFL, and they're all doing pretty well. Tannehill's doing well, Whedon's doing well. Obviously, I mean, you mentioned Russell Wilson, Luck, Griffin. I mean, there isn't really any of these guys, with the exception of maybe Foles, but Philadelphia is terrible. That's really having a bad year. And I think the conversation, as you mentioned, is between Wilson, Luck, and Griffin. I would put them in that order. Could be a homer pick. I know, obviously, Luck, I think he might throw for 5,000 yards. I think the Rookie of the Year really will come down to the playoffs. Who leads their team to the playoffs? If RG3 leads the Redskins to the playoffs, it probably means that he won 7 of his last 8 games. His stats are going to be incredible to match. So I think that's ultimately what's going to decide this race. I think Luck has the edge right now, but I think Griffin can catch him.
Yeah, another story, interesting story that came across this week in the NFL was the issue of kickoffs. And Tampa Bay head coach Greg Schiano apparently proposed an idea about abolishing NFL kickoffs and proposed it to Roger Goodell. And it turns out his proposal is a little bit out of the box thinking, but it's very interesting. Is you no longer would have kickoffs. You'd get the ball at your own 30-yard line with a 4th and 15. So basically, you can either go for it, 4th and 15, or you can punt the football. So after you score a touchdown, you get the ball at the 30, 4th and 15. You go for it. You can draw a penalty, draw a pass interference. You know, roughing the passer. If you go for it, you don't get it. The other team gets the ball. You know, or you can just punt the football right there. So it'd really take kickers out of the equation, and punters would be a lot bigger aspect. Or maybe quarterbacks and offenses could be a lot bigger aspect because you could have a lot of teams going for it.
Yeah, well, I definitely know that this is going to affect my bathroom breaks because I always go to the bathroom during the kickoff. That's the time that you're racing to the bathroom. You know, you got to pee real quick to get out here. I know that there have been some concussion issues on kickoffs. I think there's probably even some concussion issues in the bathroom when the two, you know, the drunk guys are double fisting the drinks, slip on the water, bang their head, and try to go back, snag a beer before the kickoff comes back. But honestly, I think 70% of the kickoffs have actually not even been returned. So I would like to see this rule put in place. I think it would mean that games were more competitive down the stretch. Teams would have an opportunity to have game-winning drives because how often do they really recover the onside kick? It's very, very rare.
Yeah, I think it's something like 1 in 4, a little bit over 1 in 4. So about probably 30% of the time that teams do recover the onside kick, which makes you think, I wonder how often teams would convert a 4th and 15. But again, you know, if it's at the end of the game, you got a team that's on their heels, that's tired, a defense, you could convert that 4th and 15, you know, or you could draw a pass interference or something like that. So
it makes the end of games more exciting. I like it. I would do it.
Yeah. So you know, there was actually some news on Thursday about you know, the NHL and obviously the lockout. There were rumors that the NHL was close to an agreement. I believe the Players Association came out and said that they were close to coming to an agreement with the NHL, and then Gary Bettman, the NHL commissioner, came out and said that's not true. We're nowhere close to coming to a deal. And it begs the question, Kevin, is there going to be a deal this year?
You know what? It's so hard to say. I mean, it's really crazy to think the NHL might not happen this year. I mean, we remember the last CBA when the lockout happened. The NHL was just recovering, I think, when this CBA was up. They were finally getting back on NBC. I mean, they were on networks that you had to be standing on top of buildings with a coat hanger standing in water to be able to get an NHL game. And they're finally having their games broadcast again, and they're locked out. I think it's a terrible decision by the owners to do this. I mean, the owners are the ones that are driving salaries up. The owners are the ones that are paying these guys the exorbitant amount on these contracts. And now they're coming around and saying they don't want to honor these contracts that they already signed. So I got to think and I got to hope that they find a way to be able to close a deal. It's bad for both sides if there's no hockey this year. I'm hopeful that they're going to get a deal done. I know that the NBA last year began their season on Christmas. I think you might see something similar this year, a shortened season, which is good for the Capitals, Michael, because we love doing well in the regular season and stinking it up in the playoffs. And if that happened, at least we'd only have to endure half a regular season before the Caps go out in the first round.
Well, we're getting up here to prediction time. Let's start out NHL Lockout. What is your prediction? Is there going to be a season this year? If there is, when's it going to start?
I'm going to predict with my heart and probably not my head here, but I'm going to say that the NHL reaches an agreement for a new CBA. Hockey starts up around Christmas, just like the NBA. We have a shortened season. It doesn't look like it's going to happen right now, but I'm going to pick with my heart because I'm not reaching. And what are your thoughts, Micah?
So I think there's not going to be a season. I think it's almost become, I know they still have a few weeks left, you know, potentially to get an agreement and start up, you know, end of December, early January. But to me, they're running out of time. Christmas is right around the corner. You know they're going to take a break probably for Christmas. They go home with their families. So I think they're almost getting to the point of no return. There's not going to be a season this year, and it's going to be devastating for hockey, the NHL, and hockey fans in general.
Bad news.
So let's get on to our predictions for the Redskins-Ravens game, a huge game tomorrow for the Redskins. 6-6. They can go to 7-6 with a win tomorrow against the Ravens. What is your prediction?
I'm saying 26-23 Redskins. I think the Redskins run all over the Ravens. The Ravens defense, as I said, 23rd in the pass, 23rd in the run. The Redskins right now, they're playing too well, too many good threats. Pierre Garçon is just playing lights out. They have a hard time covering him. Alfred Morris, Robert Griffin III, too many weapons on offense. There's not much about the Ravens that scares me beyond Ray Rice. Torrey Smith will get his catches. Bolden will get his catches. But hopefully the Redskins will continue that bend but do not break attitude on defense. So I'm going with a 26-23 victory for the Redskins. And I'm saying it here on the Sports Buzz, Michael. If the Redskins win and beat Baltimore, they are going to the playoffs.
Wow. Wow, that's a bold prediction. I mean, we might as well break down the playoff bracket next week if you're going to say the Skins win this week. And they do win this week, we might as well break down the playoff bracket. Who they're going to play in the first round, the second round, book the Super Bowl tickets. I don't know. But, you know, I think it's going to be a very tight game. You know, I think it's going to be a 3-point game. And I'm going to say the Redskins come out on top 20-17 in front of the hometown fans. The building and the whole city is going to be just buzzing about this team. 7-6 in mid-January after tomorrow, and I think RG3 is going to lead him down the field for the game-winning field goal. Forbath is going to be, you know, 13 for 13 on the season after tomorrow, and kick the game-winning field goal, and the Skins win 20-17.
I'll tell you right now, if that happens, I'm going to upload that game-winning drive to my phone and go on the 405, and you know what I'm going to do.
Well, I'd rather have you upload the porn you're seeing there with the 80s porn. That's what I want to see. But
maybe we can for next show.
Yeah. So we're going to have another episode next week here on the Sports Buzz. We're going to break down the Redskins-Ravens game, preview the Redskins-Browns game, and talk a little bit some other. Hopefully, we'll have some more hockey news to talk about. Maybe the lockout will be over. We'll talk about the Caps. And, you know, there's another team in town called the Washington Wizards that nobody's talking about because they're terrible. But maybe we'll break down the Wizards and talk about why they are so hideous.
Yes. Keep your hands on the wheel, folks. Drive safe. A cell phone is for calling only.
That's it for the Sports Buzz. See you next week.
See you next week.